Welcome to Living Fuel TV. I'm KC Craichy with special guest Andy O'Brien from Calgary, Alberta.
You got it.
Canada. Andy's a great friend and he really gets it. He's an elite strength and fitness trainer who gets the whole picture. So it's always exciting to get with you, Andy. And
thank you, KC.
We've done some other segments that are just fascinating, and we'll just keep going here.
Perfect.
We started a discussion about micronutrients and how micronutrients are critically important. That you have on the top the carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and even fiber can be considered a macronutrient. But what we really need, with the exception of fiber, because fiber is sometimes used like it is, what we really need is what comes out of there. The 50 plus essential vitamins and minerals, plus cofactors, plus phytonutrients, plus, for the body to function as it's designed to function. And we talked about athletes being the fastest growing segment of the malnourished population. I contend that most people are malnourished because if you just look at the restaurants they eat at and the fast food that a lot of us are consuming, it is deficient in so many of these required nutrients in order to perform. But today I want to talk about the macronutrient flip-flop, because carbohydrate breaks down to sugar slowly, so the body can use it in the way it's supposed to be used. Now, the only time sugar is really warranted is post-workout, really. Post-workout is when the pure sugar is really warranted, okay, because we know to get the insulin levels up and muscle synthesis and so on. But people have taken this micronutrient and they've brought it out and made it a micronutrient made it a macronutrient. So do you see this being an issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge issue. I mean, we have, and I've read some different studies on sugar and kind of the epidemic in the world that we live in. I mean, there's sugar in everything. I mean, a lot of people don't realize you pick up a slice of whole wheat bread and it's full of sugar. And obviously it's in a lot of snack foods, it's in a lot of sodas. I mean, you walk into a convenience store these days and you've got the section that has water and it's about this big, and then you walk into the section that has, you know, all your sodas and all of your, your sport drinks and whatnot, and it's just full of sugar. And our bodies become addicted to sugar because it's such a short lifespan nutrient, you know, that it gets in our body and then we start craving it over and over, and it goes on to this vicious cycle. But I've actually seen statistics, KC, that show that we take almost 300 amount more sugar in our diet on average than we did about 100 years ago.
100 years ago, on the average, 5 pounds a year.
Wow.
Okay? And now, that was when Grandma made an apple pie, or sometimes we went to the store for a piece of candy or whatever.
Exactly.
That's a micronutrient, right? Well, today, 100 years later, it's more than 100 years later, it's 150 plus pounds a year.
Wow,
okay?
That's amazing.
So people are eating their body weight for the most part in sugar a year.
Of course.
And so it has literally become a macronutrient.
That's amazing. It's pretty scary, and a lot of people, I think, you know, we get familiar with sugar. It seems like a natural product, so people aren't really that afraid of it.
It's great.
It's, you know, it really is. I mean, it tastes great. It's really good. But the goal for our body, every time we put some fuel into our body, whether we're having a supplement or whether we're having a full meal, is to try and get the release of nutrients from that meal to release as slow as possible. That's where you can really maximize the hormonal and the metabolic process that's going on in your body. And this applies to athletes who are looking for that great response. It applies to anybody who wants to improve their immune system and become healthier. It applies to anybody who wants to get leaner, anybody who wants to put on more muscle. You want to try to delay the release of energy and the release of nutrients into your body. So when you sit down and have a meal, you know, whether it's meal replacement or whether it's a full meal, you want that to try and last as long as you possibly can, and certainly to your next meal. The problem with sugar is it goes so quickly into your system that you end up having this energy for a very short amount of time, sometimes 15 to 20 minutes, and then you go through this empty period for an hour, hour and a half. And the metabolic and hormonal response during that empty period is negative. So you're trying to decrease your metabolic rate, trying to decrease the productivity of the body because your body doesn't have any fuel, so it's trying to decrease its energy production. If your body's fueled throughout that whole period, then your body actually feels...
Sustained energy.
Exactly, it's sustained energy, so your body's actually increasing its energy production.
So how do athletes get on the thought that somehow if I have this sugar, it's going to help me, it's going to fuel me during my athletics, or it's going to help me?
Well, I think some people feel like because it's quick energy, you know, that it works really well. Unfortunately, it's short-lasting energy. And this is the problem, that if you've got a hockey game and it's a 7 o'clock game and it's 6 o'clock and your belly's, you know, growling a little bit and you say to yourself, look, I need something quick, so I'm going to grab a quick protein bar and eat that protein bar, you're going to feel great for about 20 minutes, you know, half hour. Then you're going to feel empty again. And not only are you going to feel empty, but the physical adaptation to the exercise is going to be negative. So instead of producing more muscle and having a great physiological response to the movements that you're doing, you're actually producing less. You're actually decreasing your energy, decreasing your metabolism, decreasing your response to exercise, because you don't have the fuel to be able to sustain that high energy production of the body.
What about the weekend warrior who's running a weekend 15K race or even a marathon, and they really are just going with liquid sugar with no protein in it?
You know, it's probably the worst thing you can do. You know, I think what happens with a lot of people is they get the quick sugar, and then they run out and they take more. Then they run out and they take more, and they take more, and they take more, and before too long, you're just getting on this continuous circle of short-acting sugars and short-acting fuel. And very often, not only do you not have the vitamins and minerals and the antioxidants that go along with that real food typically has, but you're also creating a metabolic and a hormonal response and a response for your central nervous system to decrease productivity. So if I've got fuel in my body consistently, I'm always increasing my productivity. So increasing my hormonal response, increasing my metabolic response, increasing my adaptation to exercise and to stress. If I've got zero energy, my body's saying, look, you know, I don't have enough energy to do what I want to do, so I'm actually going to decrease my physiological response, and so you don't get that adaptation that you're looking for.
You know, people don't realize that in a long-term endurance event like that, you know, 15% of your energy comes from muscle, comes from protein.
Of course.
Protein. So they're actually, you know, they're not getting any protein, and they're really tearing it down. I mean, they're really tearing down the body. And what about carbo loading the night before? Talk about that.
Well, you know, it's a similar kind of concept. You know, people try to load too much with carbohydrates, but you know, we really don't have the science to be able to support the fact that carbohydrates is going to provide them with that long-term sustained energy that they're looking for. Really, what they want to try to do is they want to get low glycemic, high fiber carbohydrates with plenty of nutrients, and they want to combine it with healthy essential fats and high quality protein, because the fats and the protein are going to bind to the carbohydrate and slow it down. And what we're really looking for from a carbohydrate is low glycemic, high fiber, low sugar. And if you combine, you know, healthy fats, healthy low glycemic carbohydrates that are high in fiber with healthy protein, you're going to have that long sustained energy that you're looking for.
And fats burn in the flame of carbohydrates, and it works just perfectly.
Of course, yeah, it works great.
Amazing.
It works great. It's what's really interesting, and I encountered this a little bit this year, is that you also get, on the other side, you get people who are trying to lose weight, and they're trying to restrict their calories, and sometimes they're not getting the quality of the food that they need, or they're not getting that sustained release of energy that they need. But then on the other side, you get people who are trying to gain weight, young athletes or young people that are just trying to put on some muscle mass, and they take in tons of sugar, because for them, they feel like, well, you know, I'm burning off everything I'm taking in anyway. So they've got the, you know, the high-end protein powders and the really high-calorie meal replacements that are just packed with refined sugars. But what they're not realizing is that if you have that type of body type, intaking sugar is actually going to make you lose weight, because you don't have that hormonal release and the metabolic release to be able to get the growth hormone and the growth factors from your training, because you have this constant sugar and you're always in that empty state. So instead of having that continuous fuel of energy, you're in a catabolic state because your body's running empty of fuel because your metabolism is so fast. And so ultimately they get hypoglycemic. And that hypoglycemic response is not conducive to putting on muscle mass.
Hypoglycemic equals cortisol equals breakdown, more further. Fascinating stuff, Andy.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you for being with us.
All right, my pleasure.
We just hope you enjoyed it and wish you a great day. God bless.